Back on Inside Tennessee, we appreciate you joining this morning, and we're going to move to an economic discussion with a man who knows a lot about it, Dr. Bill Fox at the University of Tennessee. Great to have you with us. You now serve the chancellor. You've been on the campus of the University of Tennessee for almost 30 years. So
40 years.
40 years. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to shortchange you a decade. Eddie Smith is with us as well. He's a Republican. He served in the state legislature. Nice to see you again.
Good morning.
Don Bosch is a Democrat, and he runs his own law firm. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Good to be here.
All right, Dr. Fox, let's start with 2023. What have you seen this year that surprised you about the economy, state and local, as well as national?
So what we've continued to see is really good job growth. Throughout the entire year, we only added 150,000 jobs this last month, but there were 30,000 people on strike, and that's more than we can expect in the long term. We are doing just wonderfully at adding jobs in the economy. GDP growth has been outstanding, and inflation has been coming down. So the news is generally good. As you read the media, you don't always feel that that's the way people perceive it, but a lot of jobs being created, strong GDP growth, and lower inflation is a pretty good report.
Eddie?
So, really kind of looking for some advice. Having served in the legislature, we've got 2024 barreling at us here in just a couple of weeks. Looking at all of the tax cuts that the General Assembly has passed, economic growth and kind of forecast, what would be some advice that you would help to send to the legislature as they look to convene the 2024 session?
So the good news is, as a general rule, they didn't cut taxes in the long term. They were temporary changes. So, for example, we took the sales tax off of groceries for 3 months, and so it costs the state money, but it's not there in the long term, and things will come back. We actually have flat or negative revenue growth so far this year. A lot of that is because corporate taxes are performing poorly, but they were also exceptionally strong last year, so it's kind of evening out more where it should be. I think the legislature has to be really careful about looking at any other tax cuts. We're effectively the lowest tax state in the country, and trying to push that down further will make it very difficult to provide key public services.
I know I'll get vilified for suggesting that maybe our taxes are too low, but on a premise that they might be.
You can pay more, by the way.
Yes. I pay plenty as a small business owner, and you know how that goes. But do you think that it does affect things like education and certain state development and mental health and things like that, that we are such a low tax state? And that's kind of the trade-off. I mean, you're an economist, and is that something that you sort of see and can tie to the fact that, hey, the trade-off is you're not going to pay much in taxes, but you're not going to get a lot of services that are needed?
Right. Well, I think the good news is we do a good job with the money we have.
Right.
And public services, for the amount of money we have, are really quite strong. But can we do the kind of education and workforce development that we need? I think is the biggest question to me. Tennessee's GDP growth has been the strongest in the Southeast over the last decade or so. It's been stronger than the national average. We haven't created so many more jobs than other states, a little bit more, but the GDP is just output, what we produce, right. And we've done really well at that, and so the signals are that we've done pretty well.
So, and just pivoting from that comment on one other concern that, as a small business owner, and Eddie and I have talked about this on other shows, I found it difficult to find employees that we can afford. The market's not there because our unemployment rate is so low. Is that really, are you seeing that with small to medium and even large businesses? They just don't have the workforce now because we're sitting at 3%, something.
Yeah, 3.3%.
Yeah, 3.3.
Which is very, very low in historical
standards. That's functionally 100% employment.
Right, and I agree with that. That's
right.
Sort of everybody who wants a job has one,
right.
in this world. And so I think that's good news for the workers, but it's a challenge for employers who
right.
need clearly to increase labor force. Now, last year, we got a lot of migration into Tennessee. We don't
right.
know yet about this year. That certainly helped us. It was 80,000 people moved into Tennessee, and we need that. But if you think about the demographics of Tennessee and the nation, because we're aging, the baby boomers moving out of the labor force, and relatively small number of young people moving in, we're going to see almost no labor force growth. in this decade.
And that's troubling for small to medium businesses, because I know just personally we struggle to find staffing and employees in our office, and we've substantially increased our pay amounts, and we still struggle to find those people.
And unfortunately, it's not going to get a lot better. The best solution for us is to have immigration into the U.S. and in-migration into Tennessee if we're going to have the workers that we need. Now, the other thing, though, of course, is if we can skill up our labor force, we can have workers that are more productive and without so many of them, and that's what needs to happen. I mean, go to a McDonald's. I went to a McDonald's not too long ago. There was basically nobody working in this place.
It's like driving a rocket ship now to work behind the counter. So.
Exactly, and they, the soft drinks fill themselves. It's not AI, but you're using AI to order and so forth. Well, even McDonald's is doing that because they need a challenge. I read the other day that Amazon has 3 warehouses here. One of them uses robots. Now remember, this is a relatively low-wage part of the country, and they're using robots here. That tells you where the world is going.
We've got to take a quick break on Inside Tennessee. Back with more of our conversation with Dr. Fox about what's ahead in 2024, politically and economically, right after this.